Okay, so Seif Dalid, subsection 4. So we're going to be talking about somebody who denies owing altogether, right? So we know that if you deny from before, if you deny part of the claim, then you have to pay the part that you admitted, and and you're biblically required to take an oath on the remainder. Why? Because we say that a person doesn't have chutzpah to deny the whole thing, and whatever he figures, he's gonna admit to part of it, and then later he'll come to the guy and say, yeah, I owe you the whole thing. I'll pay you. Like maybe he didn't have the money at the time, whatever it is. Okay, then somebody who denies everything. We'll talk later about the rabbinical oath requirements, but he's not required to do this biblical oath. Now we also know if I deny everything, and witnesses come and say, no, we witnessed the loan, or alternatively, I don't think we spoke so much about it yet, but alternatively, if witnesses come and say, if witnesses come and say that meaning he did a proper admission before witnesses, he said, like, you are my witnesses, or there's different opinions. If he had to actually have said, you are my witnesses, or it was clear by the context of the situation that he was admitting to them as witnesses. So then he owes the whole thing. So now we're going to look at a different scenario. What if he denies the whole thing, right? He denies the whole 100. And witnesses come and they say, no, we witnessed that you owe him. But they're not testifying on the whole 100. They're testifying only on 50. We witnessed you owe 50. So if Dalad Kafar Bakel, if the defendant denied the whole amount, the Edim even Meidim Shechayav Loi Chamishim, and witnesses come and they say, no, you owe the plaintiff 50. Right? Meaning either they witnessed the loan, or like we said, or he admitted before them, etc. Yishalim Chamishim, he has to pay the 50. The Yishba min HaTeira ala sha'ar, and he has to take this biblical oath on the remainder, just like a Meid b'miktzas, just like one who admits to a partial admission. Why? Does piv gedel medas edim, that the admission of his admission is not greater than the testimony of witnesses. So it's sort of an a fortiori, right? The kal v'chemer. How much more so? If by his admission he's right of part of the amount, he's required to take a biblical oath. How much more so by testimony of witnesses, which is stronger than his own admission on a partial amount, he has to make this oath, which is funny because it goes a little bit against the logic. Why? Because the whole reason that we said that he has to, the reasoning given in the Gemara, right, was that he doesn't have the chutzpah to admit the whole thing, so he's admitting part of it. But what we don't have that by Adam. What are you going to say? The Adam are afraid to testify the whole thing, so they're doing partial. So really, the reasoning behind that was given for a partial admission goes out the window. That he's going to have too much chutzpah to deny the whole thing when he owes it. But in either case, it doesn't make a difference. This reasoning or not reasoning, that's the Torah's law. The Torah's law is admitting in partial is an oath, and since the testimony of witnesses has greater value than his testimony, same thing. He also has to take an oath on the part that they say they witnessed, and he has to pay the part that they say they witnessed, and he has to take an oath, a biblical oath on the rest of it. Ramah, the Haggah says, "V'yesh emrim," and some say, "Dafke sha'edim me'idim al peh v'loy b'kinyan." Specifically, when they were witnessing that the loan was a verbal deal and not through a kinyan, not through like making an acquisition on it. Avol in kosvu shtar, but if they wrote a contract, oy sheyesh tan kinyan, right? So either there's a contract, meaning there's a contract. So the question is, what's the so then what do you need witnesses for if you have a contract? Meaning the contract wasn't on the loan itself; it was a contract it was a testimony contract, right? They wrote down. In other words, he called the guy and he called witnesses and he said, "Listen, I loaned him money," and the guy says, "That's right, he loaned me money." And he tells the witnesses, "I want to write a contract before witnesses that he admits that he owes me money." Right, because otherwise, what's the witnesses have to do with it if you have a star? Or if there's a kinyan, an acquisition was made. So then these witnesses do not obligate him they do not obligate him to take an oath on the remainder. Why? Because it's like there's a situation called the halach, which means go. And what it means is that it's like the same thing. Like if I admitted part of it, and I gave him the money, and I told him this is all I owe you. Go, take it and go. Right.
The whole thing
So
about
then,
just trying to, we don't believe it. We just think you might just trying to get rid of him or something.
I don't know, but in that case, well, it's gonna be in Sif Vav. It's gonna explain the situation more.
Okay.
In the meantime, it's just I guess the important thing to know for now is there's a situation where if he tells me you owe me 100, and I tell him I owe you 50, here's the 50, go. Hey, look. So then I don't have to swear on. I'm not required the biblical oath of a made miktas of admitting to part of it. We won't. I guess we won't go into the whole reasoning for it now, being that it's even though the Shach and Taz might force us to, but for now we'll leave it at that. So this is the same thing. If there's a contract or there was an acquisition made, then it's the same thing like that, and that's it. So he has to pay what's in the contract, and he does not have to take the oath. Whereas on the other hand, if it was Baal Peh, if it was just a verbal, right? Either they witnessed the loan or he testified before them that like you are my witnesses that I owe him money, right? As opposed to as opposed to if I tell you you owe me 100, and you tell me yeah I owe you 100, and the witnesses say they saw it, that doesn't count because it could be you're just trying to get me off your back. So, let's see. V'yesh mishachelik, and there are those that argue on this, right? Meaning that they hold that no, it doesn't make a difference, even if it's with a star and even with an acquisition, it's not like the same as a halach, and he does have to take the biblical oath. Ayin lekamon reish pei zayin. See later in section 87. See if Aleph subsection 1 more on this concept. Continues the Mechaber. The author continues. When do we say this? That when witnesses testify on a partial amount, he's obligated a biblical oath. Kishetova milve. When what do you call it when the lender made the claim, and then he denies it, and then Adam come and say, no, you owe half. Aval im tavu. Well, no, I think in this case it's milva, like means when the claim was regarding a loan. It's not about the. It's not talking about the malva. It's about milva, the actual loan. So when is this the case? When it was regarding a loan. Aval im tavu chafetzim shavemane bikadin, right? But if it was his claim is about collateral that is worth 100, right? It's objects, items. How do you say chafetzim? Loose versus karka. It's chafetzim and karka. It's like
Not assets, but
like not real property, not well, there's a word for it. Movable stuff. Objects, whatever.
right, movable
Items.
assets.
Yeah.
Like
There's a classic word that's used for it in
I don't
the
know.
regular English translations, but I can't remember what it is right now.
It's
In other words,
something similar. It's something like connected to assets, but
it's a
not
word taken.
assets.
It's a word taken from real estate, where you have like there's real property, and then there's the other thing, the non-real unreal property. So he had it as collateral by him. The hala amen, and the other guy, meaning the defendant, says, "Ein l'cha biyadi klum." Right, same situation. He denies it altogether. The edim eidim shero biyadai kishen nidba meisim chafetzim. Right, and the witnesses they literally just saw, right, at the time of the claim, they saw part of the right a partial part of these objects in your hand, right? Shaveh chamishim, meaning the value of 50. Let's just say I say what you call it. You have you're holding my collateral, $100 worth of flour, and these witnesses say we witnessed that he has him with $50 worth of flour. Then huchsak lekafron. He is what's called the huchsak kafron. He has a status quo of a liar. He has the chazak of a liar. He has a meaning he's what would you call it? He's established as a liar.
The denier of that guy.
Why? Based on their testimony, right?
Right.
Because he denied the whole thing.
Right.
They said, "Wait, we just saw you with at least part of it, so we know you're a liar for a fact. At least on that 50, we know you're a liar, right?" Never when he that he's a liar when he says that he lost it. I don't remember because a pikadon is different, collateral is different. Meaning this, he must be talking about like a shemer chinam, where a shemer chinam, right? A free watchman, right? I'm watching for you as a favor, right? As opposed to there's different laws about if you're paying me to watch it and these kind of things, or if you borrowed it from me, all these kind of
borrowing it or renting it.
But a guy who does it for a favor, if he lost it, he's not obligated to make it up to you, right? So I say you have 100 pounds of flour that I what do you call it? Sorry, $100 worth of flour. And I say, no, I what's it called? I lost it. I don't have it. I don't have it anymore. I don't know where it is. And Adam come and say, we literally just saw you with 50 pounds of flour, right? And the 50 pounds of flour say property of Yodah Welton on it. And we know that we saw you with $50 worth of his flour. So obviously you're a liar. You're lying that you lost it. At least on that 50. And he did not want to oh no, sorry. It doesn't look like that. This is different. Maybe if he lost it because it's negligence, maybe he is chayav. Because it's a little bit different. So he says, hooks a kafran, why he's hooks a kafran on the 50. Why? He lost your collateral. Then he didn't want to reveal. He didn't want to reveal it. Why? Why? Because I only lost half of it. What happens if I deny half? If what's it called? If I deny half, or what's it called? Or I guess not. If I lost it, I also have a shua shemrim. I have if you give it to me and I lose it, then I don't have to pay you, but I do have to take an oath that I indeed lost it.
That it wasn't due to negligence or anything.
Right. So he doesn't want to take this oath. So what does he tell him instead? He tells him instead, I what's it called? It never happened.
Never got anything from you.
Yeah, you never gave it to me. And we know he's lying because these guys just saw you with 50. So obviously what happened? You lost 50. And you still have 50. But you don't want to admit it because if you lost from my collateral, you're going to have to take a shua shemrim, an oath of the watchman. And therefore he saves himself. He's trying to save himself by saying, "Loif kadatani, you never gave it to me to watch at all." So it's similar to like a Meidva Mikta situation. Until he has time to search around, and then when he finds it, he'll give it to him. He's not planning to mess you over. He's looking to buy himself. So just like we said by the other guy, he doesn't have money to pay you right now. So so it's a similar situation right here. He doesn't want to take a biblical oath. So he knows if he admits to part of it, he's going to have to take the oath of the watchman. So he's going to tell you right now, it never happened, and then later he'll find it. He'll go, oh yeah, you know what? I found it. You're right. You did the what's it called? I must have forgotten. Here's your flower. Yeah. So, Dafka Kishihivkid, when is this? No, wait 1 second. It's Kafron. So because of this, because you would think, right, based on what we said before, I loaned you 100. Sorry, not I loaned you. Right, yeah, before I loaned you 100, and you say it never happened, and witnesses come and say 50. So it's like you admitted 50. So you take the oath, right, on the biblical oath on Maidav Miktsas, on admitting to partial. He says in this case, when it's items, it doesn't work. Meaning, really, you should take the oath. But here's the problem: you just made yourself a hooks kafran. Now. By the way, a hooks kafran is a whole question. Does it mean that's it? You're a liar for the rest of your life. Nobody ever believes you. Hooks kafran in this case means you're a hooks kafran for this particular case. Mm-hmm. For this case, you're a liar. And right, what happens if you're a liar?
We never established that he is. It's just there's a chazaka here based on circumstance. That's unique to this circumstance.
Essentially, we have established. Even though it's funny, it uses the word chuchzak, but it means you now have the status of a liar on this.
No, but what I mean lied. But it doesn't seem to be universal. It just seems to be exclusive to this situation.
The reason he uses the word chazaka is because we know you lied about the 50 already. So now there's a chazaka. The status quo is you're going to lie altogether on this case. Right, but it's a chazaka, meaning you haven't. We don't know, but the status quo that you've established is that you're willing to lie about this, on this case. So therefore, anything else regarding this case, we're going to consider you a liar. And then what? And if that's the case, we don't make you take an oath because we're not going to believe you even with an oath because you have a chazak of a liar, so your oath doesn't help. So nishba. So rather the defendant, the plaintiff who's making the claim, he takes an oath. Since you can't take an oath, we don't believe you, right? So he takes an oath on the rest of it, meaning we already 50 we know, right? 50 witnesses came and said you have 50. The question is the remaining 50. So usually you should take an oath that you don't owe it, and then you don't have to pay it. But since you made yourself a liar for this case, so now it goes the other way, that the plaintiff makes an oath that you do owe him the remainder, and you have a nitel, and he collects the entire amount.
Yes.
Which is a general rule, by the way, is any time that a litigant is not
if the defendant can't swear,
right. So then it goes over to the other.
But Bechlal, the plaintiff does not do the swearing. Usually, it's on the defendant to do the shvua.
Right, but it's for him. Usually, the defendant takes the shvua, and based on his oath, he's acquitted.
Right. But if for whatever reason, basically,
we can't then it's called nishma v'neitel. The other the
plaintiff.
Yeah, the plaintiff takes the oath and he collects based on this oath.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the Shulchan Aruch and the
Rama.
Yeah, and the Rama. And now let's see who comes first. Let me look at my notes because my notes actually it has S1 M1. It tells me who comes first and who comes next. Okay, so he said that somebody who denies the entire 100 and witnesses say he owes 50, he pays 50 that he admitted to, and he has to swear a biblical oath on the remainder and then gets acquitted of it. So we have Smeh. Wait, how's that possible? No, sorry. We have Shach 11. Okay, so this one he just says Ayin Mashnes Borla Kamon Simin Pei Zayin Reish Tefei. He just he just refers us to another place that has more on this topic. Then we have that because of his own we said that his own admission doesn't carry greater weight than the testimony of two witnesses, right? The testimony of two witnesses is stronger than his admission. And therefore it's the same like he admitted to part. So says the Smeh 9, Sifkat and Tes. A das piv, the testimony of his own mouth. Meaning when he's admitting, meaning had he admitted on 50, which is part of the total claim of the plaintiff who claimed 100. So this shouldn't be gadol me'adas edam alalu. That shouldn't carry more weight than the testimony of these witnesses. She'emrim shechayev le'mikzas tevyesav, that we say that he is obligated to him, therefore, part of the claim. Right, that's what they say. So this is stronger than where he to admit if he owned part of the claim. Right, and we know that if had he admitted to 50, he would have been obligated a biblical oath. So how much more so, right? That by the testimony of witnesses, he is obligated, that he is obligated part of the claim, so he's also obligated to take an oath. And we find this in various places, that witnesses can obligate him, right, even though he has not obligated himself. Kigain made the b'knas. Like if somebody admits to a fine, that in that case, if he admits to it, I guess because he's incriminating himself in that case. And we see a person, right? Oh, he continues, he says that, yeah. V'gam she'ein nasa rosh al pi atzmei. So it's two different things. One is by a knas, that we don't accept somebody's admission of a knas, and we also don't accept when he's incriminating himself, right? However, in both of those cases, if witnesses testify on it, we do accept it, because he can't incriminate himself, but they can incriminate him, right? And he cannot admit to a knas, but they can testify about the knas. So we see in both of these cases, we see that that the testimony of witnesses is stronger than his own testimony about himself, which is funny because sometimes we also say that he does baldin k'mei edim dami, right? So on the flip side, right, that the admission of a litigant is like 100 is like more than 100 witnesses,
right?
But it's different cases where that's supposed.
We don't let him get himself in trouble.
Right. In this case, he can't right, by knas and by and where he would be incriminating himself. We don't allow it. Okay. Then we said that this was dafke by, right, there must say, some say dafke when this is an oral agreement, but if there is an acquisition or a contract, then the edim cannot obligate him. Why? Because it's like halach, right? Like it's like I said, take it and go. Here, I admit to 50. Take it and go. So, smer yud avlim kos v'shtar. But if it was a contract, pirosh, meaning sheyesh shtar biyada teveya, that there is a contract on this loan in the hands of the plaintiff. The plaintiff has a contract on you. Well, not a contract on you. That's something a little different. He has a contract about you. A contract about you.
You owe me money. I put on a contract.
Put a contract on you. Shekosov bay, that in this is written, Bifonenu Edim Hilva Plainu Plainu Chamishim. So he's saying it's not, I mean, again, because we're talking about witnesses come and testify. So what do they testify? What does it mean they testify? So then where does a star come in? Right. So rather, he has what it means is, like we said before, he has a contract, meaning I'm claiming 100 from you, right? And I come to court and you say I didn't know anything, and I pull out a contract on the 50. That I have a contract that you signed that you owe me 50. Right. So, and it's signed by witnesses, right? As opposed to the witnesses coming before us and saying that they witnessed it. Similarly, even if they weren't there at the time of the loan, right? It wasn't that there's a contract that I owe you that I owe you 50, or that they were there when the loan was made, but rather it's a contract that you admitted before them. Shechayev lepleni chamishim, that you owe this guy 50. So why in that case would he not take an oath? The kol shtar yesh bo yeshibet karkois, that every contract every loan contract has in it a property lien, right? That if you don't pay me back, if I have a contract, right? If I come and
that's usually what you go after first. I owes money, you go after his property.
Right. So if you have a contract, but it's not with a contract, I guess, because if you have a contract, the contract has shibud karkais, has meaning there's a lien on property in it.
I guess shtar is just that's the default of a shtar, is that it's gonna say, that's gonna be the wording in the shtar.
I think just the power of a shtar might be just mechayev you this. I think even without it saying,
even if it doesn't say it necessarily, but just bechlal, when it's a written down agreement,
when it's a written signed contract,
it goes after.
It has a certain
the
power.
Is not a lien. If it's just an oral agreement, not necessarily, but a written.
Now you still owe him. You still owe him,
right,
but it doesn't. But right. Which just like even nowadays. Even nowadays, right? We know that if we come to court and we're discussing a verbal versus if we have a contract, the contract has a different level of
power. No, but I think nowadays it's because the contract has there's a veracity, there's a strength because we can verify that verifies that this happened. I'm saying halachically we can verify an oral contract took place with Aiden, but it still doesn't necessarily have this thing of that it automatically goes on land. There seems to be something that with a written contract there was an understanding. Everyone knows that if you don't pay back, it's going to go on your property. While an oral contract, as opposed to an oral contract even with Aiden where it's verified, that not necessarily.
Yeah, a contract is like what do you call a note of what do you call it? It's like showing up with a deed or this kind of thing. It's like I have a note or a promissory note. I have like back in the day, right? That's how it used to be. Back before the banks would send everything, everything over an online system that gives hackers your information every 3 days, right? They like back in the old Westy times. They would have like you didn't want to carry the money or whatever, so there would be like the bank would issue a note that's that you can then go to a different bank or the same bank.
That's what dollar bills were.
Right. Well, right, but I'm saying
backed up to actual cash.
No, what I'm saying, but that's different. A dollar bill is legal tender. Meaning I can steal your dollar bill, and now I can use it. The idea of these promissory notes was let's say I took out a promissory note with Wells Fargo in New York, and it has my name on it.
More like a modern day check.
No, but I'm saying it has my check. Right, yeah. So it has my name. It's
only going to help the person whose name is on it. It's for the person whose name is on it, not for.
Right, it has my name on it, but so I can travel with my $100,000, and I don't have to worry about getting robbed because nobody else can. Now then again, what happens if you can sign it over and things like this, whatever, or back then before it was FDIC insured, the guy would go between when he was from here to there. It turned out the bank went under and your money's gone, but
Right.
But anyways, so the star has a different and since this is a beautiful smear, beautiful smear, because I was trying to figure out why. Right? Why is it considered like halach? Like why in this case is it considered like I gave you your money already and said here go? Why? Because since the contract has a lien on the property. The property, right? That can be collected by the lender, meaning you already have a payment in your hand. You can collect the property. You've already been paid, essentially, on whatever money's in this contract anyway. So you've been paid for it. Why? Because you can go collect property against it. V'din heilech yisbar b'samach sivav. Don't get too worried. He says basically about understanding the exact nature of the din of heilech. For now, it's suffice it to know that that's the din by Halach, and we will be talking about that more at length in Sivav in the subsection 6. The Bechol Makim Shein B'Shus HaMalvikoi. Why is it called that? Why is it considered a Halach? That at any time that it is in the property of the lender, right? Not just that. It's why is it in the property of the lender, even though it's the borrower's property, right? But it's karka. He can't take it anywhere. It's sitting there ready to be claimed. According, right, he can collect it at any point he wants according to the amount specified in the contract. And for this reason, right, for the reason that there's shibud karkais, that there's a lien on property anytime there's a contract. Gam kein ka'amar. So therefore, also he said, meaning the Ramah, who brings this, that when the witnesses are in front of us, but not when they're not in front of us, right? So only when they're in front of us, and they testify that it wasn't just a verbal loan, but rather that there was a kinyan suda, right? There was a proper acquisition was made. Remember, we spoke about that whole thing of different kinyanim, kinyan suda, and etc. When we were talking about the halachas of selling mechametz to a non-Jew. That there's different kinds of acquisitions. So hang on a second. So why by a kinyan suda, right? Why is that considered also like there's no contract? So what lien is there on property? Why they call kinyan l'chsiva made? That if they actually made a kinyan, right? If they made an official acquisition, it can become a contract. They can later write it down. We witnessed that he made a kinyan, and that contract would hold the same power that it has the ability to has a lien on property. So automatically, so automatically there is a lien on property, even though there isn't a contract. But since you can make a contract from this kinyan, were they to write it down, it's the same. It holds the same power. Very beautiful. Okay, it's 11:30.
11:30. Yeah, I gotta
go.
Okay,
Good. So we'll stop. That's a good what do you call it, and then we'll continue with the shach on the same topic.
Did I also shach
tomorrow or this evening or at the next time. Seid gewünscht. Have a fantastic, wonderful day.
You too.
All right, we'll be in touch for what the next.
Yeah, I shouldn't bring in